Welcome to Audrey's reading area and a big shout out to my four grandbabies, Korea, Sanaa, David the Third, and Kaden. I love and miss you guys so much with all my heart, and it will never ever stop. Yes. So today's Wednesday. What kind of books did we read today? You got it. Multicultural books. Today's Multicultural Wednesdays. Yes. Multicultural. I'm going to be reading Eskimo Boy. It's been so cold outside, right? It kind of fit, right? Eskimo Boy. Life in an Inupiaq Eskimo Village by Russ Kendall. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly, and please forgive me if I'm not. I said Inupiaq Eskimo Village. So I hope that is correct. Don't forget to click like and share my videos. Don't forget to go to YouTube. Look for Audrey's Reading Area. See it right there? Audrey's Reading Area. Smash. I said smash that subscribe for me. That subscribe button. Yes, smash it up. Subscribe, subscribe. All right, you guys. Eskimo Boy. Life in an Inupiaq Eskimo Village. All right. I'm sure I'm going to have to put on my glasses for this one, right? All right. So let's jump right in. This is, oh, isn't he cute? This is Norman Kokiok. He's a 7-year-old Inupiaq Eskimo. In the Inupiaq language, the word Inupiaq, I think I'm saying it right. Inupiaq means the real people. Let's look at where he lives. What a cutie pie. Aw. Norman lives in Alaska. His home is a little island off the northwest coast of Alaska in the Arctic Ocean. His village is called Shishmaref. His people have lived on this island for over 4,000 years. They are hunters and fishermen. They eat seals and walrus and moose and reindeer and salmon. Eskimos in Alaska don't live in igloos. They live in houses. And you know, I thought they lived in igloos. It says Eskimos in Alaska don't live in igloos. They live in houses. So let's take a look here first. Alaska. Then let's look at here, the houses that they live in, right? Interesting, isn't it? So they have these pictures of these people. It says Norman's brother, Warren, is 23 years old. He has his own family, and they live in a small house on the other side of the village. His sister, Frida, is 21. And his brother, John, I think everybody's got a brother, John, right? I'm just saying. His brother John is 13. Norman's parents are Clara and Shelton Kokiok. His grandmother, Signa, lives nearby in her own house. So we have Clara and Shelton Kokiok up here. Norman and his grandmother, Signa. They kind of look alike, huh? Oh. Winter comes early to Shishmaref. Sometimes it snows in September. As the temperatures get colder, the nights get longer. In the middle of the winter, there is only 1 hour of daylight. 1 hour of daylight. And the thermometer can go down to 65 degrees below zero. 65 below zero. It gets so cold that the whole ocean freezes. During storms, the wind can blow more than 100 miles per hour. Not for me. If you walk out on the ice for several miles and then turn around, you can see Ear Mountain rising up behind the village. Though it looks close, it is almost 30 miles from the island across the water on the mainland. Wow. Look at that. When it is really cold and dark, the northern lights come out. If you look up in the sky, you can see them stretching far into the distance, like ribbons moving and flickering, glowing green and red. Norman's grandmother has told him that if he whistles at them, they might come down to earth and glow even brighter. But then he must be careful, she tells him, because if they come too low, they might try to snatch his head and play with it. Oh. You can see a group of stars in the sky called the Big Dipper. It's shaped like a scoop and a handle, like a ladle and a handle. The Big Dipper is on the Alaska state flag. Oh wow, right here. The Big Dipper is on the Alaska state flag. I didn't know that. Norman's father is a hunter. Whenever he catches something, he brings it home where Norman's mother cleans and prepares it. She cooks some of the food right away. The rest she dries or freezes and saves for later. They don't even need a freezer in their house. They could just wrap it up and put it outside, right? It's so cold. She cooks some of the food right away. The rest she dries or freezes and saves for later. She uses an ulu or woman's knife to cut the meat or the fish. Mm, interesting. Norman is not old enough to go out on the hunt with the men from the village, but he dreams of being a great hunter. For now, his favorite activity is going ice fishing with other villagers out on the frozen lagoon that separates the island from the mainland. Nice. About 450 Inupiaq Eskimos live in Shishmarif. There are only a few white people, mostly teachers who work in the village school. Norman is in the first grade. He would rather be outside fishing. I'd rather be outside swimming, right? He'd rather be outside fishing, but he tries to do well in school. Sometimes he gets frustrated, especially when he has to read. His teacher, Dawn Wayoana, sorry about the pronunciation, Wayoana, taught the class to say the Pledge of Allegiance in sign language. Hmm. Some days the class watches videotapes about animals like polar bears, when sometimes, which sometimes come into the village at night in the winter. Other days they learn how to speak the Inupiaq language and how to carve little people and little animals out of soapstones. The carving teacher, Dick Wayona, carves animals from walrus ivy. Wow. They have the same last name. Dawn and Dick Wayona. Maybe they're related. In school. In school. Aw. Shout out to my girl Michelle Buchanan. Thanks for being here. I see you. Yes. This is interesting, isn't it? So, oh wow. Before the white man came to Alaska, the only way to travel was to ride a dog sled. And look at this. Today, Eskimos use snow machines to travel and to hunt, but most families still ride dog sleds for fun and sometimes to race. Look at that. The dog sled. That would be interesting. I could probably only take it for an hour and I'd have to go back to the warmth. There are almost as many dogs in Shishmarif as there are people. Even when it gets very cold, the dogs live outside. Their fur keeps them warm. Sometimes the men make their dogs hot meals by boiling water and fat and seal meat and fish together. Seal meat and fish together. So I'm guessing he's cooking food for the dogs. The dogs stay outside. Not too cold for them. Dogs can take it. Interesting, interesting. Because the village of Shishmarif is so far north, no roads go there. But there is a runway nearby where airplanes can land. Almost everything that comes into or goes out of the village is brought on airplanes. Norman's parents take him by plane to the dentist in Nome, 120 miles away. He is not very happy to go. You got to go to the dentist. You got to take a plane. Wow. Wow. The village does not have running water. Norman's parents travel to the Alaskan mainland where they chop ice from a small pond. They chop ice from a pond. Then they bring it back to the island and melt it for drinking water. Wow. Look at this. Look at this ice. That's how they can drink. It's so cold because it will freeze everything. OMG. In the spring, the days begin to get longer again. Shishmarif holds a spring carnival. People from other Eskimo villages all over Alaska come to help celebrate the longer days. Outside, there are dog sled races. Inside the school, there are basketball games. And later, there are Eskimo dances. The dancers dance to the beat of a big, thin Eskimo drum. After the carnival, Norman and some friends play Eskimo baseball in the snow. Interesting. So, wow, this looks exciting to me. In May, I love it. The snow that covers the island begins to melt. In June, the village becomes full of big slush puddles. That's June? Slush puddles. People drive their snow machines right through the water. The ice pack that covers the ocean begins to break up and melt and drift away. Oh my. OMG. Soon the men will begin hunting seals and walrus, so the village will have enough food for the next winter. Even though Norman cannot go with the men, he watches them leave, then pretends to shoot at seals from the shore. When the men bring seals back, the village women clean them, then hang up long strips of seal meat to dry in the wind. Seal meat. In the summer, there is almost no ice or snow left. Almost no ice or snow. Almost. I need it to be gone. The sun stays up most of the time, setting for only 1 hour each night. While the men are away hunting and fishing, the village children play outside. Norman especially likes to play near the ocean. He watches the boats leave the island as the hunters go to their hunting and fishing camps. Look at them with the basketball. Beautiful picture here. Beautiful. Norman and his friend Andrew practice hunting near the airplane runway where many birds live. When he shoots one with the BB gun his father gave him, he brings it to his grandmother, as is the village custom. She cleans and cooks it for him. Wow. Shoots the birds. She cleans and cooks it for him. Norman wants to be as good a hunter as his father. Someday Norman will use these hunting skills to feed his family. Mm. Mm. Too soon, the brief Arctic summer is over. Norman knows he must soon return to school, this time to the second grade. The cold September winds have already started blowing. Soon they will carry winter snowstorms. The nights are already getting longer and colder. In a month's time, the ocean will begin to freeze. Norman puts on his winter parka and, missing summer already, walks down to the ocean. Aww. He misses summer already. Oh, that was the end. They have Inupiaq Eskimo words. Take a look. Anna is grandmother. Aniu, snow. Atata, Adata, father. Ava, grandfather. Igloo, snow house. Ini, wood or sod house. It says Inupiaq, the real people. Kamak or kamak, sealskin boots. We're here right now. Kiyogzat. Oh my goodness. Kiyogzat is Northern Lights. Mazuk, sun. Nanook, polar bear. Kyaak, small skin covered boat. Kimungun, dog. Oh my goodness. Suzak, Eskimo drum. Tajiuk, ocean. Takik, moon. Ugzruk, bearded seal. Uiviluk, babies. Ulu, women's knife. Umiak, large boat. And Uniat, dog sled. Those words kind of sound alike to me. Afterwards, and they're talking about modern day Eskimos here. I don't know if you guys want me to read it. Let's see. 2 pages. You guys want me to read it? Say yes or no. You want me to read it? Okay, I will. I'll read it. So there are about 4,000 Native Alaskans in Alaska. Inupiaq Eskimos, like Norman and his village, make up only one Native Alaskan culture. There are many others, each with its own history, traditions, and language. There are the Aleuts, who live on the Aleutian Islands of southwestern Alaska. There's the Athabascans of interior Alaska, the Yupiks, who live along the west coast, the, oh my goodness, Tlingits and Haidas of the southern panhandle, and others. I hope I didn't mess those names up too bad. I apologize. It is the thought that the first Eskimos came to North America from Asia, crossing the frozen Bering straight into western Alaska between 4,000 and 6,000 years ago. Some say they might have been following herds of caribou. Anthropologists has found Ancient artifacts on and near Shishmaref that are estimated to be that old. Because Eskimos had no written language until the mid 1900s, oh wow, there are no written records of those prehistoric times, but small hand tools, dolls, and carvings found in archaeological digs closely resemble hand tools, dolls, and carvings used and produced until recently by modern Eskimos. Over the centuries, the nomadic Eskimos spread east and south, migrating thousands of miles along the coast of North America through Canada and as far northeast as Greenland. Whoa. A few thousand Inupiaq Eskimos still live in Siberia. Hmm. American Indians are thought to be the product of a similar but much earlier migration. Their ancestors crossed over from Asia between 25,000 and 40,000 years ago, then migrated south and east, inhabiting all of North and South America. Modern day Eskimos are in a precarious place. Though they have lived in Alaska for thousands of years, they now find themselves strangers in their own land, strangers to their own culture. A gentle, trusting people, they proved easy prey, first for the Russian whalers and hunters who exploited and enslaved them in the 1800s, and then for the Americans who came throughout the 1900s looking first for gold and then for oil. Eskimos had no concept of land ownership or of a cash economy. They didn't know about all that. The land and the sea provided them with everything they needed. Food was shared according to need. Tools, boats, and even dogs were shared almost to the point of collective ownership. There had been no need for money or private properties for 4,000 years. All that changed with the advent of the white man. That's what it says. Right there. In the 1940s and 50s, white schools and churches were built in remote villages. The Eskimo children who were forced to attend them were more and more taught the white man's ways at the expense of their own. Eskimo children were punished and hit with sticks if they spoke their own native tongue while in school or in church. Stores began to appear in the same villages, and a subsistent economy gave way to a cash economy. White men who had been housed and fed by Eskimos began selling them food and alcohol, and later guns and snow machines. Eskimos who were traditionally very healthy began to contract and suffer and even die from white man's disease, alcoholism, tobacco, addiction, tooth decay, etc. When Alaska was admitted to the Union as the 49th state in 1959, the accelerated influx of the white influence further diluted the Eskimo culture. Some villages, in an effort to protect themselves that went completely against their cultural generosity, began making white men unwelcome. Some, like Shishmaref, were far enough away from the white man's centers of commerce and population that the cultural collision was not as great as it was in other villages. In the space of 3 generations, entire tribal cultures were either wiped out or irrevocably altered. Wow. There are cases where grandparents who speak only their native tongue cannot speak with their own grandchildren who speak only English. That's a mess. Can't communicate with their own grandkids because they speak their native language and their grandkids were forced to speak English. As older native speakers of these languages die, they are replaced by younger Eskimos who speak mostly English. who themselves are eventually replaced by still younger Eskimos who speak only English. Large pieces of the culture are lost forever. Norman, who can speak and understand a great deal of the Inupiaq language, is more the exception than the rule. His parents are older than those of his classmates and closer to the old ways than some of the younger parents who are themselves a product of the white man's school system, which teaches English at the expense of the Inupiaq, wood shop at the expense of hunting skills, but there are those Eskimos who are fighting the loss of their heritage, some of whom are college educated and return to their villages to study and relearn the old ways so they can teach them to the young ones. hmm Some schools are beginning to teach bilingual classes where carving, language, and Eskimo values are taught alongside American history and math. Much of the hope for future generations of Eskimos to rediscover their rich heritage lies with the native Alaskan leaders. About Alaska. Alaska is about one fifth the size of the rest of the United States. It is superimposed. Alaska over the lower 48 states. The southern end of the panhandle would be in Florida. What? If you superimposed Alaska over the lower 48 states, the southern end of the panhandle would be in Florida. The western end of the Aleutian Islands would be in Southern California, and the northern edge of the state would touch Canada. Wow. The USSR, which is only about 60 miles to the west across the narrow Bering Strait, declared territorial ownership of Alaska in the late 1700s, but sold it to the United States in 1867 for $7,200,000. That works out to about 2 cents an acre. Everything about Alaska is big. With over 500,000 square miles, it is the largest state. Alaska is the largest state. Remember that when your teacher asks you, you can let them know you know that Alaska is the largest state. But with only 550,000 people, it is also the least populated. I think because it's too cold. It's too cold. That's just what I think. Too cold. Tiny Rhode Island, with only a little over 1,000 square miles, has twice as many people. In fact, you can put the entire state of Rhode Island inside just the city limits of Anchorage and still have enough room left over for half of the state of Delaware. Nearly half the population of Alaska, 225,000 people, live in Anchorage. Next comes Fairbanks with almost 31,000 people. Juneau, the state capital, is third with about 26,000 people. Juneau. The rest of the residents are scattered throughout the state. Wow. The highest mountain in North America, Denali, which is Mount McKinley, which is 20,320 feet high, is in central Alaska. Most of the active volcanoes in North America are in Alaska. Most Redoubt, a volcano near Anchorage, Mount Redoubt, a volcano near Anchorage, erupted in December of 1989, shutting down air traffic for days and blanketing the city with ash and pumice. A violent and destructive earthquake took place in Alaska on Good Friday in 1964, destroying much of Anchorage. About the photos. The photographs were taken mostly in Nikon equipment. So you can read this here if you want. You can pause and read. Pause and read about the photos. Wow. The end. Eskimo boy. I just learned a whole lot about Alaska. I'm loving it. I would love to visit there. Not to stay too long because me and cold don't get along. I don't like the cold. Well, all right, you guys. Thank you again. Mom, thank you, Mom, for being here. Michelle, my girl, Michelle B. Thank you so much for being here, listening to me read and showing all this love and support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget to click like. Don't forget to share my videos. And don't forget to go to YouTube. Look for Audrey's Reading Area. And then what? And then smash that subscription for me. That subscribe button. Yes, subscribe. Subscribe. Alexa, what time is Audrey's Reading Area?
Audrey reads in her area live at